What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today we're going to be learning about alchemy. I brought in a special guest, someone I've known for a while, AionJanis. We're also guildies, so what's going on? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi guys. I'm known as the dancing streamer. Been playing BDO more or less full time with minus like a real life break for about a year. But yeah, it's full time streaming every day. Just working on my gear. Goals to get hard cap by the end of the year.
Nice. Yeah, you do long streams every day. It's pretty interesting to watch. Yeah, I noticed you did a lot of alchemy these days, or I guess you used to. And I guess for all the people who are looking to get into it, I brought you in so you can explain how all this works. And, you know, from a beginner's perspective, what would you do? Got a bunch of questions, but yeah, I guess let's just get it out of the way. At what point did you start doing it? What made you want to do it, basically?
Well, when I first started, I was doing a lot of cooking. At that point, alchemy wasn't so profitable, and cooking was the better thing to do.
Oh yeah, I remember
And I
that.
primarily was doing cooking. Yeah, I primarily was doing cooking for contribution points. At that point, and it wasn't really about making too much money because cooking's kind of complicated because you've got all these meals nested within meals. Cooking required spreadsheeting, and that's not really what I wanted to do. But then when cooking became less profitable and alchemy became more profitable, I swapped to that, and alchemy was just way easier to do, and I still think currently is more profitable than cooking overall.
I know that a lot of life skills are pretty gate kept and people keep all their recipes and everything a secret. Usually, as a general thing, what would you recommend would be good to make in general?
Well, it depends where the person is in their life skill journey. I mean, like someone's starting off, let's say they've completed the seasonal journey and they've finished all of the academy, then I would say starting off making a pure powder region, clear liquid region is a good way to go. Just to push up the XP a little bit because you do get more mastery for every level. And then as they get a little bit better life skill gear into mid game, maybe making something like legendary beast blood and sinner's blood, and then eventually working their way up to making all of the elixirs and turning them into harmonies. As far as I understand, it's slightly more it's more profitable to sell the elixirs without turning them into harmonies, but the problem is just the quantity, it doesn't sell as fast. So what I do is I make all the elixirs and I turn them into harmonies. The last time I did 8K harmony crafts and they all sold within a week.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, so like if you're a beginner, you just push yourself up to like guru, would you say, or is it master? Guru obviously being better, and then you make the profit crafts once. Like, what would you say would a breakpoint mastery be for you?
Breakpoint mastery, well, above 2K, I think something like 2.2, 2.4. Around 2.2 is fine with just mastery and self buffs, and then you can use the extra scrolls, so like the Sacred Book of Florin, the Jovan Grolan scrolls as well, and they do give quite a few life skill event items as well, like Wise, Housekeeper, and so I say those specifically for maximizing the gains when I'm trying to do alchemy for cash.
They actually made an update today. Those like secret books, you can make more of them every week from the vendor. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So do you have like I guess you could send me this later and I'll post edit like all your crystals for your life skill gear, and then what kind of Lightstones, artifacts, and all that stuff you use for all the stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So like if you were a beginner, what would you recommend going for first? Like what kind of gear progression? Would you just get like the outfit first and then?
If I was a new player, let's say theoretically I've completed the seasonal journey and I've done my Olvi Academy, I'm gonna be sporting a Tri-Gorgath's Alchemist Clothes and a Tri-Gorgath Flask. And the problem at that point is you don't have any sorts of Supreme Alchemy tools or higher Manos or Gorgath set. You also don't have the Alchemy Stone or a Lightstone or artifact set for it. at that point earlier on, I would well, I'd first do Imperial, just start doing the Imperial Alchemy, because you do get to, if I'm not mistaken, Master 1. And so day 1 starting the Imperial Alchemy, because if you do the Imperial Alchemy, then you can turn in the tokens for Supreme Alchemy tools, and that just allows you to sustain the alchemy that you're doing. But before actually starting crafting yourself, I'd probably recommend putting a pre-order for a Tet Manos flask. They'll set you back 2.7 bill, and then you can either keep the Gorgaths or upgrade straight to a Tri-Manos close for 2.7 bill, or maybe a Tet Manos Alchemist close for 6.1, and they should be available on the market. You also do get, I do believe, 4 Floramos accessories, which are the quality of a Tri-Manos accessory. And then you're going to be lacking 2 slots. So then I recommend either getting a Tet Logia belt or a Pen Logia belt, and then a Tet Logia earring or a Pen Logia earring. If you go the Pen route, it's slightly more expensive, around 1.1, 1.2 bill. But the Tet's fine. That's why I started off getting my gear. So a Tet Logia belt and Tet Logia earring will be roughly around 200 mil each. So
Yeah,
depending on how
bad.
much money, depending on how much money a person has set aside at the start. After that, then the Alchstone is going to be another thing. So the best one is to, I guess, join a guild and start doing the weekly guild bosses. Get the Khan's Heart of Life. It's a little pricey if they want to buy it themselves, so around 8.7 bill. But it's a really nice thing to have to get that alchemy cooking time reduction. And if they wanna swipe, you got the Pavilla costume set, which will reduce alchemy time by 2 seconds. And then the Little Otter cooking carrier, which will give another 1 second reduction, 20% XP, and 100 more mastery cooking and alchemy. And it's not too expensive. It's a fairly okay pickup for 1,500 pearls. The Pavilla's 2,200 pearls, so total would be 3,700 pearls.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So do you do Imperial Alchemy at all, or do you just kind of skip that?
Well, I was skipping it for a little while. I have to start doing it again. I was skipping it because we had the unlimited alchemy utensils in the Olvi Academy, which then they decided to nerf.
I read that too. I was like, dang, that's disappointing.
Yeah, well, we can't have fun, can we?
No fun allowed.
They changed it from right. So they changed it from infinite crafts overnight, and if you had a full setup and with like max weight, it would be down to 1 second. I do believe with the Resplendent it was 1.7 seconds, and if you had a Splendid it'd be 1.5 seconds. But people can still do that because you can do 1,000 crafts in one go, and then you just have to start crafting again. So you just have to check up on it from time to time. And I think that's probably still the best play for someone that's just starting off if they don't have any Supreme utensils.
Yeah, speaking of that, how do you sustain yours? Do you just put an order on it, or do you go out of your way to just gather it?
The utensils or
yeah,
the
all the
materials?
utensils, because you probably run through them a lot if you're doing like 8,000 crafts and on.
Yeah, well, the utensils are mostly sustained by the Imperial Alchemy, because then you can get the Supreme utensils through the Alchemy seals. But from time to time, if I need some extra, then I go. You can actually get some from the Dark Spirit's Greed weekly, so you can get 2 Supreme Alchemy tools for 10 Dark Spirit's Greed each week. That's a little nice top up. And there's one other way. I think it's in Ailton, Land of Morning Daily, for Oxider crystals. And you can exchange 25 Oxider crystals for 1 Supreme Alchemy tool. And if I remember correctly, the NPC's name is Tabudai.
Gotcha. So yeah, you you both basically sustain doing all the quests weekly, daily. How much do you actually gather, or have your workers gather all the
I use a
materials you
combination
need?
of, yeah, the thing is it's difficult to sustain the more you're doing alchemy. So what I do is I put certain pre-orders up on the market, especially for the saps.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pre-orders, so they come in quite slowly, but over time they do add up. Other than that, it would be gathering saps and also bloods like fox blood and wolf's blood that I would do myself. But it's mostly these days just making sure that I have enough saps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so do you want to like go to some of the spots and then show people the rotation if they want to gather it themselves, or sell it so people can craft it themselves too?
Sure. So what I would do is have a seasonal gatherer. It's definitely a good idea to be gathering on seasonal because you get the typefold stones. And with the amount of grinding I'm doing, I end up running out of loot scrolls fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I saw you grind a lot. How many loot scrolls do you have?
Running out very quickly. I think I have about 250 left.
That's crazy. I never thought I'd run out of loot scrolls in my BDO career.
No. I wish we could buy them. That'd be really nice.
I would absolutely sell them.
Yeah, I would absolutely buy them. So I start around here.
Mm-hmm.
I get some to gather some ash sap. So this is a good ash sap spot. So just go down around this area here. Cedar tree, ash tree. Gather ash sap, because ash sap is probably one of the most difficult saps to get off the market. So I just go around, gather. Just run, grab as many trees as I can. I even go up the hill over this way, over to the west, and then once I've gathered all those, I go back here, back to the road, and then I go all the way up the right hand side of the road, and then go all the way back along the left-hand side of the road. And once I've cleared it, I channel hop.
Gotcha. How long does it take, or I guess did it take you to gather all the materials before you started doing like harmony crafting? Because that's like a 5-step process before you can even start making them.
What I do is I would use BDO-lytics, right? So BDO-lytic, I would, let's say, for example, go on the processing page, search for harmonies, and then decide how many I want to make. Let's say, for example, the last craft was 8,000 harmony crafts, and then on the left-hand side it says how many of each I need. Actually, no, I think it was like 2,000 crafts. 8,000 crafts is a lot. So let's say, for example, if I want to do 2,000 harmony crafts, then it says I need 198,000 ash sap, 198,000 birch sap, 170,000 cedar sap. So I take this list and go through all of the things and gather all the materials that I would need to complete the entire craft. And once I have everything, then I just I would wake up before stream, do some alchemy.
Oh, so like the investment to do that like is
that.
probably 10 to 20 hours of gathering, and then before you can actually start crafting everything.
Well, for that in-game crafting, I think it's a bit more. And if I think roughly numbers-wise, unfortunately, I can't tell you off the top of my head. But it's just, I would just pick ash sap and then just gather until I got the required amount, and then I would move on to the next one.
Yeah, because I gather a lot, and I'm like, how much sap do people get in like an hour or so? It's probably like, what, 30,000 or something? Then you multiply it by how many you want to do.
Yeah, it depends if you're also using Agris or not for it. I would use it, but recently I've been just using Agris for grinding. But it's a good idea to use Agris, and also in terms of gathering, pets are really important. So it's really helpful to have a tier 4 hedgehog pet.
Absolutely. Always recommend people to get that one. It's just like double proc, I believe. I don't know what the percentage of that is, but
And the other thing, let's see, I've got a gathering set as well, so try to maximize the gathering XP. So my current gathering set is life XP 7% and gathering 15%. So it helps to get the gathering levels up as well, especially if you're going to be supplementing your alchemy with self-gathering and not just buying everything off the marketplace.
What artifact sets do you use for not processing, alchemy and gathering? What's the combination called?
So
I don't know if you have it set up in your preset, but if not, you can just send me a screenshot.
So this spot is good for Ash.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go down to the Zarka Shrine.
So this is your second spot. What do you get from here?
Yeah. Yep. So around here, it's some pine sap, cedar as well. And so what I would do is I just start on one side of the road, just grab all the trees. Grab all the trees over here. Go up that way to the shrine, go slightly down that road, and then double back on the other side of the road. And once I've sapped all those trees, then I just hop channels and do it again.
So how does the process of, like, let's say you're starting alchemy, how does it work? Do you just gather like 2 or 3 materials a day, and then you know how you need like 15-20 different ones for starting endgame crafts like harmonies and various elixirs? How do you break that down for a new player, like of finding a routine?
Daily basis, I would, let's say, for example, I've got all, let's say, I've set a certain amount of, let's say, for example, elixir of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would just focus on one elixir at a time and get the amount that I need for the harmony craft, and then just work down the list one by one.
Because I know when I first started alchemy, I looked at the list, I was like overwhelmed. I'm like, oh, where do I start, kind of thing. So go down a list, do it one at a time. Yeah, I'd recommend that too. Do you have any secret tips and stuff you want to share of what you did?
First, I would just mass produce, like as I was power leveling my alchemy. I would just mass produce tons and tons of the clear liquid region, the pure powder region, just so I have a massive stockpile of that, so I don't need to purchase it off the marketplace. If you'd have to purchase it off the marketplace, it does cut into your profitability, because ultimately you want to do this and make some money so you can get your Lifeskill gear upgraded. And then once I did that, I moved into the mid-game crafts. And a really good one to do in mid-game would be the Verdure Draft. That sells pretty well. I call it like the mini Harmony craft. Because for Harmony you need, quite a lot. But for Verdure Drafts, you only need Workers Elixirs, Elixir of Time, and Elixir of Swiftness. So then you can kind of focus all of your gathering and your crafting on those 3 elixirs, and they do sell quite well. The thing is, it's also a good idea to use the Verdure Draft yourself when doing alchemy, so you can self-supply yourself those buffs, but also you have extra to put on the market. I would probably say over 2,000.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable number. I didn't know, like, I know Mastery goes to 3,000 now, but what would you say is a good point to be? Just over 2,000 or like 2,500 before it gets too expensive and that's just min-maxing at that point?
I think for me personally, I'd say 2,400 is a good spot to be at, because if you're around 2,400, then you can use the buffs and get to around 2.8 or 3K when you're doing the big crafts. And also when you're doing the big crafts, you do get some extra silver per hour based on your mastery. So let's say someone is, let's say, roughly 1,000 mastery, they're pulling an extra 53 mil per hour. 2K is an extra 191 mil per hour, just on top of just on top of the alchemy from the byproducts alone. And the number gets pretty juicy, working your way up to 3,000.
So yeah, sounds good. Thanks for answering a bunch of questions and helping people who probably want to try alchemy but have no idea where to start. And if they ever want to see you, they could check out your Twitch. I know you have a YouTube channel. I remember you made a guide like a year ago. I'm not sure how active you are. Do you stream on YouTube as well? Yeah, so want to tell people like what you do on your stream and like what your schedule is so they could find your channel, check it out, give them a follow and stuff.
Yeah, sure. I'm streaming every day. So starting around, I would say 9 a.m. Central European time, between 9 and 10. And then I end up streaming to around 9 p.m. CET as well.
Nice.
On the stream these days, mostly doing grinding because I'm trying to reach hard cap by the end of the year. So it's about 5 to 9 hours of grinding at Zephyros. And we're now doing deck offhand taps every Friday, which we'll do again tomorrow, 9 p.m., 8 p.m. CET. And we'll keep doing that until we're PvE.
How do you keep yourself motivated to just grind every day and just like, you know, there's some people that are like, oh, I failed, you know, 1 trillion silver and 0 motivation to keep going. How do you keep going?
That's a good question. People ask that every day. It's like, Janis, how do you grind so much?
I guess being a content creator, we, you know, profit off of it too. That's one thing, but I don't know. True. I wish I knew. I enjoyed grinding like 8 hours a day like I used to.
Yeah, it's not like this awesome days where you could just grind and it's just fun, but it's like grinding's like a second job. But you get it done. But one thing that if I have any advice for that, I'd say get lucky first. Right?
So I'll try that next time.
Get lucky, bro. I'd say a grind spot's enjoyability is really a combination between the class that you're using and whether you like the mechanics of the grind spot. So I'm currently grinding on a Awakening Witch, and I like that class, and I like the Zephyros grind spot most out of all the grind spots, and to be honest, I've been grinding more this last year and a half than I've probably grinded in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the other thing I do is I wake up in the morning, I decide I'm gonna do 5 hours and 5 hours minimum, and then kind of once I reach the 5 hours, then actually it becomes easier after that. It's like goal is met, cool, let's overachieve.
So after a while, you're just gonna get used to it, and then you're like, all right, meeting your daily quota.
Yeah, it's you sort of build a momentum and suppose a habit, and then if you've been doing the same grinding every day, and then the next day is just kind of natural.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on. If you have any questions, go follow him, and everything will be in the description. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining.